I was in these mega churches you see on Christian broadcasting. I was behind the scenes seeing the lifestyles of some of these people, the hypocrisy, man, of being in the pulpit and saying all these things that I'm actually doing, like I'm living, right? That's what I figured I had to do, right? And then these guys get in all kind of lifestyles, cheating on their wives, and drugs and all these different things. And so they're living a dual lifestyle. I'm seeing it, and it completely wrecked my whole image of this thing, and it may be very, delusional. I lost everything. This is what I was going to be in life.
Brothers and sisters, we can't thank you enough for all your love, your support, and your faithfulness. It's been brought to my attention, if you really want to do something to bless us, to thank us, apparently simply hitting the like button on YouTube would be more impactful than what I ever knew, let alone subscribing to us on YouTube if you're not already. And then over on Spotify and Apple, please leave us a review. All of your listening and your comments to us mean the world to us. And do us a favor and just hit like on YouTube and leave us reviews on Spotify and Apple. And we're going to continue to serve you with our whole heart. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Tattoo Guardians podcast show. My God, like each week, we just keep bringing magic and gold to you from our whole hearts. And this week's extra special week because we got one of my all-time best friends and good buddies on the show. One of my very first ever mentors that's become a friend and a brother in my life the rest of my life. And he's on the show today. As usual, we got everybody on here. You know who it is, the brother who continues to help inspire people. We got hip, legendary Joshua Carlton, producer Mike Cierno-Yaski, doing the beats in the background for us. Matt Klemmer here, and my good brother, Mr. Phil Bellante, has joined us today all the way from sunshine of California. How are you, brothers?
Awesome.
Good.
Awesome.
Happy day. Oh, my God. I don't know. I think we've mentioned this before, but isn't it cool? We all, and this is a real small list with most people, that we all may have acquaintances and we got friends. But then we got that small list of friends that you just see one another and you're so tight, but yet years could go by and you not even see each other or talk. But when you do, it's as if like you never skipped a beat. Yeah. We all know what it's like to have a friend like that, or I hope we all do. I'm blessed because I do. And that friend is on with us here today, my good brother, Phil Bellante. How are you, brother Phil?
I am doing well. Thank you, Matt.
Yes, man. Yeah, brother. Thanks for joining us today, man.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and we should, because, even Josh and Hip don't even know our story, Phil. Before we get into whatever we want to talk about, we should probably even give them a little bit of taste of how you and I even became friends. And I'm wondering whose version I'd rather hear.
Look,
like,
you gotta.
Oh my goodness! He threw up an old photo. That's me with like short dreads right there. That's us in the recording studio.
That's when you were singing for Rage.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When you order Rage off of Wish.
Man. Oh, there's another pic. Man, Phil's coming correct with the pics, boy.
Wow, that's awesome.
Even though I didn't inhale over here, Mr. Bill
Man, Mr. Clinton.
So you guys have been friends for a while. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. Well,
the preaching
you
crew.
guys, hey, there's me, my preaching days, boy. We all suited up.
Right there.
Yeah,
Look at that.
That's right.
Did you just say that last picture was you and Bill Clinton?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Like the Bill Clinton?
Yeah,
The
but it was
Bill
a
Clinton.
cutout cardboard.
Oh, okay.
Come on,
Got him.
stick with it. Stick with
I
it.
know.
man.
I was going to let it ride because we can hardly see it. I'd be like, yeah, that was Bill. Yeah.
You ain't lying.
Oh, yeah. Yep, there's me and Marilyn Monroe.
I see where this is
Oh,
going.
my God.
There you go.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
bedroom
There's
studio.
Yep. My God. We record our album out in California. Phil was like executive producer and helped. Yeah, there's our first album right there, the Klemmer album.
That's awesome.
Yeah, out
You
in the
guys,
Carlsbad studio in Carlsbad, California.
you guys had a show recently, right? I feel like I read that.
Dude, we played 2 nights ago.
Hell yeah.
They pulling me out of retirement.
Right.
Last one.
Man.
Look at these shirts,
Oh, yeah, that's
yeah.
me with the shaved head. He's got it. I didn't know you had all these
Damn.
pictures, Phil. Man, that's back when I used to look like Josh.
Yeah, it's part of my preparation was to kind of dive back into that time period, and everything that transpired during that time period, and hopefully be able to pull some nuggets from it, for the podcast today, as we get into it. But yeah, that's brought back a lot of old memories, of you guys coming out here, and really the importance of a team, right? How important a team is, whether you're struggling, like going through a health issue like Josh is, or, trying to up level in life, or just trying to do anything. I think the importance of community and a team. I've been around a lot of successful people, professional athletes out here, and I don't think any of them get anywhere in life or really excel and really optimize all they can be without the right people around them.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is something that I definitely learned a little later in life, and I wish I had realized this earlier, like who you surround yourself with, just how important that is. And, I really learned a lot of that just by joining this podcast. Hip and Matt and I have always been friends, but the brotherhood that happened through the podcast has made a huge impact on my life. For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, because, Matt and Todd, we were raised in fundamental Christianity. Matt and Todd and myself and our families went to the same church. And we kind of connected there. Really, we're polar opposites in a lot of ways. Like, it's kind of strange. A lot of times you're attracted to people that with similar likes and interests and all these different things. And I'm not saying we didn't have some of those. Obviously, God and pursuing God and religion and spirituality was one. I was a little bit more of a late bloomer with my musical career and my producing and singing, songwriting, and performing and touring and all that stuff, which I did. But yeah, it's just one of those. It's kind of like one of those life-lasting connections, right? You have to really perceive in your life. Some people are only supposed to be there for a season, and if you leave them in there for a lifetime, it's not going to do you any good.
Come on, Phil.
And really, I mean, if you look at your life to date, and maybe some detours you had to take or some wrong decisions, a lot of times there was some people in your life when that happened, and Matt's the type of guy where I feel like it's always a lifelong relationship, whether we're together, in person or over the internet or, just, spiritually or whatever. But, our relationship kind of evolved, and I was up in Bowling Green State University, and Matt was trying to sort some things out, and he came up, and I kind of played, like he had said, a little bit of a mentorship role in terms of spirituality, and then that's what we were doing. We were kind of both groomed, actually, Matt and I don't know how much you guys know, but to really be the next, TV evangelist phenomenons. I mean, that was
really,
we were kind of handpicked. Matt and I would walk into different settings and conferences, and we would be pulled out pretty much on the spot and prophesied over. Like, this just happened regularly all the time. And we kind of went through that season together. And then we kind of also went through the season of coming out of that, experiencing, the realities of that world, of that subculture, and being a little delusioned. And then that was my exodus out to California. I took off to California, and we stayed in touch. And then, Matt and Todd and Matt Gates at the time had come out. I put a team together, a really good team of people that could execute and finish this project. Take their creative energies and finish this project. And that's always important with people that are creative, right? I mean, it's easy to start things, right? Get that new song buzz and that new inspiration, but it's really the finishers are really, who win in life. You have to finish.
Oh,
and
I
so
love
that's
that,
kind of
Phil.
a little bit of a background on how we met and how this CD, came into existence, and the importance of what I had said was having a good team of people around you. It's vital.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, and he said to be the finishers. Oh, that's a whole nother group of people. So many people. Everybody's got a vision, a plan, a dream, a goal, and so many people start out. But who actually follows all the way through and finishes a thing, man? Stays to the commitment. I love that, Phil.
Yeah, it's so easy to just tell everybody what you're going to do. It's much more important, like you said, to be a finisher, to follow through with it. Like, who's actually going to really dig in and do it, do the work,
Right. And oftentimes, whoever's finishing the deal, if you actually finished, that means you broke through and overcame obstacles. Because the whole world usually ends up falling off or not finishing because it got hard.
Yeah.
And this is how we can talk ourselves out of being our word, and then start laying down all the excuses of why, that thing ain't working out for me. That ain't, we're not going to finish that, right?
I'll even see this in tattooing, like when I'm helping somebody learn a new technique, right? I'm teaching somebody a technique and it's foreign to them. It feels different. They've been tattooing this same way for, 10 years, and this is a new technique. Their hand motion is different. So they give up midway, right? They kind of panic and they don't do it. And it's like, it's just not for me. But they've really only given it like 1 or 2 tattoos to try on, but then you got people they're determined to finish it, and they're so happy, and they write me and they're like, man, this technique really helped me out. I used to struggle with saturation and I finally got this. So it definitely helps.
Man, I do love it that you brought up, like, because me and Phil are brothers. We've been tight since fucking the 90s.
Yeah.
But in a lot of ways, we couldn't be more polar opposite.
Yeah.
And we love that about one another now. But in the beginning, it was like
bumping heads
a little, or just like, and it wasn't even butting heads, because it's not like we ever got in a fight. It was just
like Star Trek, Star Wars.
Our differences were so extreme.
Spock, Vader.
Right. Yeah. And, and of course, all our listeners know a little bit about my testimony, Phil. Eventually, I'd shared an episode about, like, when I was looking at 25 to life in prison and all that stuff, and then came up out of that. And then, people just know that I moved on in life and ended up going to Bible college and the whole deal. But, I didn't paint the pictures of, like, every stepping stone. And this is where Phil came into my life initially as a brother and one of my first mentors. And it was when I was trying to turn my life around. Like he said, he was up at Bowling Green University, which is close to Toledo, Ohio. And I went up, he took me in as like his roommate, not a roommate that's going to contribute, pay half the rent or nothing. Like, he took me under his wing. One, I needed to get away from trouble, or I needed a clean slate.
So this is when you're on the run?
This is after all that.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, in the beginning days, Phil was like my spiritual drill sergeant. And you guys know I'm not a morning prayer. Every morning he'd wake me up, like make me feet on the floor and take me out to like a running track, around a football field, and make me do laps and pray at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Like drill sergeant shit. You're going to get your prayer in, boy. You know what I'm saying? Like day after day. And sometimes, whether we'd fast or then we'd go to services or church, and we'd go back to the house and walk the floors and pray for hours.
Yeah.
Since I was the artist of the bunch, I'd be doing a mural on the wall while we're praying. But it was like drill sergeant around the clock. At that time, we felt like we were, he said a minute ago, we were almost being pruned to be the next big, whatever, preachers, evangelists. And at that time, we felt like called to that, and you can get caught up with labels. Everyone was calling this man the next apostle. Everyone was calling me the next prophet. We had this mantle, and, and like you said, anywhere we'd go, we'd get pulled out and prophesied over. And so on one hand, that was beautiful. On the other hand, for me at least, I didn't even realize at the time that it was putting unnecessary pressure on me to be something, to fulfill something, right? And even though I wanted to, what does that really mean? What does that really look like? And anyone that's been through a lifetime of religion can probably relate to some of this. But that was the beginning of our journey, fucking almost 30 years ago, and we've been through so much since along the way getting freed up. And that's why you guys know who I am today, that I never quit loving God or people, but I got freed up from just organized religion. But that was the beginning of Phil and I's.
Yeah.
Not knowing even what we thought we were called to then. Well, we've been called to so much and have gotten to partake of and create so many blessings and miracles in the past 30 years, even though neither one of us ended up behind a pulpit forever.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why aisle 9 is called aisle 9, because we now know miracles and magic and blessings can happen anywhere and everywhere, even in aisle 9 at the grocery. Like, it don't have to be in this big mega church, right?
What was it, a bitch forcing him to get up every morning?
I think there was some ice bucket
Challenges before.
Yeah.
After warning 1 or 2, you're getting up, boy.
I'm 100% serious. I think there was at least 3 buckets of ice and cold water, and I didn't even care about the bed or anything. It was all about getting to the goal, man. Like getting this up and getting him into a better daily routine. And he got, he wasn't happy about it. There's no doubt. But back to what Matt was saying about us, being different. A lot of that was on me. I was probably a more of a judgmental person, very ultra religious, and I was on one hand, I was helping Matt with his transitions and where he wanted and needed help and where I felt he needed to go as a mentor, seeing things in him that he didn't see in himself. On the other hand, I exercised some judgment. I didn't drink, do drugs. I wasn't raised in a household where I ever saw any liquor or alcohol. Probably one of the greatest blessings and one of the things I'm most thankful for with my parents is not being around that. That is the worst, I believe, vice and the worst trap that anybody can fall into is alcohol, spirits, right? It opens you up to making a lot of poor decisions in life, period, right? And so, Matt was going through his own different, things I'm sure everybody's, aware of. And so it was just weird because I was very judgmental, Matt, but at the same time I had that mentorship side of me that was really knowing that he had that potential, and I was doing whatever I could to get him there. And I did learn a lot of empathy from Matt because one of his gifts is I think he really shows off that masculine and that feminine energy. He's pretty balanced in that. And at that time, it was all masculine for me. I mean, you could probably even say it was prior to toxic masculinity, I was probably toxic. So I think Matt taught me a lot of just empathy and compassion. You could always tell that he had a real heart for people. Like that authenticity was there. That gift was there. It wasn't like he said something to you and then just switched gears and did some other task. Like it was still on his mind. Like I could tell like he was connecting with that person's feeling. He's an empath, right? He was empathizing with those people. So I think as we got out of the corporate American church structure and which was mainly kind of business and money driven. I mean, at least the ones that we were involved in. And I began to get away from being so much of a judgmental person, which a lot of people are in any dogmatic belief system. I moved away from that, and I was able to become more approachable, touch more people, and I think it helped Matt and I connect more and more, especially we got into the music stuff and things like that. So getting away from that actually, I think, strengthened our relationship rather than when we were in it,
Man, Yeah.
Yeah.
But dude, I fucking love you and got so much respect for you. All the, you know, judgmental or not, I needed you that in my life. I needed you. I needed someone that was fucking almost all masculinity to rule with an iron fist. That's what I needed in that season of my life. And you were like probably the only dude that could do it and the only one that like had the grit to even fucking put up with me, you know? Because it's not like I was a major contributor in your life at that time. But you know, to this day, like even when I teach my students, I bring up a story, and I always say, and Hip will know this, I'll say like, because even now I'm teaching students so much on mindset, but even their relationship with money, being a giver, all of that, right? And I'll always tell a story. I was like, years ago, one of my a mentor of mine pulled me aside, told me, Matt, you're not a good giver, you know? And that like fucking broke my heart and pissed me off. And I turned to him, I was like, what do you mean I'm not a good giver, man? You know me. You know I'd give that dude right there the shirt off my back. And that's when my mentor said, oh yeah, Matt, I understand. It's not a heart condition. It's a storehouse condition and a maturity condition. Why don't you go and mature and learn how to get your storehouses filled so that you can actually serve and meet needs out of a place of abundance and operate on an actual, you know, level that's actually going to impact the world. I know from my heart you want to be a good giver. Now it's time to mature and learn how to become. And so that's when I'm talking on a monetary level, because there's more than one ways to give, obviously. But that was Phil in my life, was one of the first people that planted the seed that like, eventually I'm going to have to put my big boy pants on and mature around this thing called money if I really want to have the impact in the world that I say I do, you know? And that was Phil in my life years ago. I don't know if you remember that. But,
I totally remember that. So that's cool to hear that this is who said that. I remember early on you telling us this story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Victory mindset people, not victims. People that are champions. And I've been around champion UFC fighters for 7 years. I was in that community, and I was able to see firsthand how those people think and how they react to things, constantly being criticized, constantly, you know, being talked about in negative ways, or, you know, being challenged. They didn't get on Twitter and call somebody out for offending them. They didn't do that. That's not what victory-minded people do, or champion mindset people do. They don't do that.
Come on,
Offense is actually a tool. It's a tool to make you better.
Come on.
It's a tool for you to say to yourself reflectively after you hear somebody say something, like I said to Matt, to take it in and say, you know what? You know, let me set my pride aside here and anything of that nature, my sensitivities and emotions. Let me really constructively look at what they're saying.
Hey.
What they said, the language, the words that could change you. What did they say? And were they right?
Man.
And you know what championship-minded people do, and people that are champions? They'll say, you know what? That person is 100% right. They'll make a shift, and they'll up-level their life. I've seen it all the time.
Come on, boy.
Well, people that are offended are weak people. They're cowards. They're not looking at it properly. They want to get attention for somebody saying something and their feelings being hurt. What they don't understand is they're actually hurting their own development. They're hurting their own ability to step into who they are in life.
My God.
Offense is a useful tool. You know, if you're offended about what somebody says, maybe you ought to stop and look into it, because you know what? You've been wrong before. And you might be you might be wrong on that as well. You know, so this whole world we live in, where everybody uses offense, you know, to slip into being a victim and get attention from people, you know, with tweets and stuff. This is very dangerous for people in their personal development. It's very dangerous.
Yeah. And Phil, you know, another thing that came up to me on the flip side of that, and to this day, dude, in 30 years, I haven't been able to find the scripture since. Almost wonder if I made it up, but I swear somewhere in Luke or somewhere it talks about, I swear that it talks about.
We made a few up.
Yeah, we made a few up.
It's somewhere.
No, but
It's somewhere.
That's right. It's a somewhere though.
Old King James. It's an old King James.
No, but I swear I thought it said somewhere that they became less offendable due to the love in their heart. Meaning, like, the more love someone took on, encountered, experienced, almost the less offendable one becomes, right? And that's another flip side of this is, yes, people need to be able to, like, we need people in our life. I thank God for all the people. Like he even said, as a mentor, he was able to see things in me that I couldn't, right? But am I open? Am I have an empty cup? Am I, no matter what level, keeping a beginnership mindset so that I can see that which I can't see because I really want to level up, right? My development, that's one side. And the other side is me being a student of love and growing in love and knowing love and even having love for myself where I'm at, so that when others don't understand me, want to judge me, that the love that I have inside causes me to not be so quick to be offended by someone else's opinion, right? And if I'm packing enough love on the inside of me, instead of me being hurt or offended by them, even if I don't agree, I can love them beyond, instead of taking offense from them. That's why even if you're offended, you almost got to check and be like, why is this triggering me so bad? Is it true?
Well, yeah,
And
things that offend me don't usually, like, one, it hurts. But then I do have to reflect. I've learned to reflect because, like, is there some truth behind this? Like, what's the part I play in it? And I appreciate you, like, pointing out, like, victim versus,
Victory.
you know, I call it, you know, a victim or a volunteer mindset. And, you know, if I look at it to, like, I am not a victim. I volunteer for every scenario I've ever been in. Anything that offends me that someone says about me, I've probably done something that led up to creating that opinion. And I'm never a victim. I'm always volunteering for any scenario I'm putting myself in life. I'm the common denominator in all of it.
I mean, I think what we're all saying here is to constructively look at what we're being offended by, right? Whether we have caused that and initiated that, wherever it's coming from, you know, use it as an opportunity to really constructively look at it. Just don't shoot it down. Don't get hurt. Don't get on your Twitter and say somebody said this or call me a name. Constructively look at it. You know, give it.
Yeah.
Just say, hey, you know, is there some truth to this? Maybe it's all true. Maybe some of it's true. But I know hanging around world champions people in every walk of life, and I'm around a lot of them. And I see how they react and respond, okay? I'm an observer. I do not believe that experience is the best teacher. It is not. It can create a lot of pain. An observer is the best teacher. I don't have to go walk in the direction you're walking to learn that's not the right way to walk. So this whole thing about the whole experience thing, too, with people is a victim mindset. You know, oh, I've been through all this, and I've been through all that, and I've been... Okay, you know what? I respect that. And it was a very difficult time. I can empathize, but maybe a lot of those decisions, if you had a mentor or coach in your life, you didn't even need to make those decisions, you know, or you could have observed somebody else walking down that path and realizing that it led to the end of a cliff. So, you know, the whole offensive thing is really hindering people. When I hang around these champions, so in MMA martial arts, there's different skill sets, right? Some guys are strikers, some guys are good wrestlers. They come to the game with skills at varying levels, and then they get coaches, multiple, plural, help with each one of those disciplines, okay? You know, Gary Vee's great. You know, he's a hype man. He's going to get you hyped up, right? You know, you should work and never sleep. Don't eat, right? You know, do it all. And there's hype guys in UFC when you do the walkout. I've done it, right? But the hype guy doesn't win the fight for the guy. You know, it's the coaches around the ring. It's all the skills they learned up to that point, right? And so a lot of these guys I'm around, when they get criticized or something said about them, they don't get all, like, butthurt about it, man. They're like, you know what? I got to go find a coach to make me better in that area. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. They don't even take a second to feel sorry for themselves. They know that part of being first and being a champion and stepping into your fullest potential in life is you have to just accept and move and go.
Come on, man.
That's it.
Oh.
You know? And if you like to waste time and you like to get attention from people in your circle for, you know, differing things, have at it. All you're doing is delaying your potential. That's all you're doing.
I've even gotten the answer I've been looking for through the gas station attendant at Speedway just because I was walking in openness for the answer to come to me, for the message to come to me, no matter the messenger, right? So many people will rob themselves from their development or from the message just because they didn't like the messenger.
Yeah.
And miss it.
And here's one of the great mysteries about, okay, let's just God, the creator, pure source, the divine spirit, let's just, whatever your belief is about that energy and that intelligence that you can channel, right? So, and he who has an ear, let him hear. Not everybody has an ear to hear. He who has an ear to hear today, let him hear. Somebody doesn't have the ear to hear today. Right? Now, so you got to be careful what you tell people. There's a timing element of it. One person plants, another waters. Spirit gives the increase, right? So, but the whole thing is, I can tell you from my experience, it's usually that way. It's kind of the universe's kind of little, you know, just joke about how you hear profound things from people that you don't expect to hear profound things from, or you know, being out in nature, which I'm out at a lot out here, right? You hear profound things, or you hear profound things from all sorts of sources, but you miss it because you're only listening to your people in your belief system.
Yeah.
A true growth, Matt's right. You know, if you're, man, we miss so much by just being so caught up in the noise and social media apps, man. It's a trick. I'm telling you, the universe is always looking for people to communicate and to channel amazing things for this planet, man. And we just get caught up in not hearing. We're listening. We're not hearing and doing. We're not hearing it. And it's what Matt said. I'm only going to listen to Fox News. I'm only going to listen to CNN. I'm only going to listen to this podcast because nobody has tattoos. I don't like tattoos. I'm only going to listen to this person. I listen to such a wide array of people. Yeah. Just because I just know how this works. And Matt knows how it works because he's very sensitive too. He always knows that voice may show up at any time and literally shift his life.
Yep. Oh, it's fun. The world's our playground.
Yeah, it is.
That's for sure.
I mean, look at John the Baptist.
Yeah. Right?
Here's these oddball people throughout Scripture, to use the Bible, that, you know, they were coming out of places this guy's out in the wilderness, you know, just hanging out, doing weird stuff. Right? He's a weird dude, right? And he's telling people this is coming, like this is going to happen. You know, he's a major conspiracy theorist, right? In today's world, like crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was right.
Yeah.
You know? And the people that had an ear to hear, that were supposed to hear, heard and accepted that, and they were able to excel and step into that next season of life. Yeah. And the other people just stopped. That's where they stopped.
And I think sometimes, you know, people just are not, I think Phil touched on this, maybe ready to hear, to have an ear just yet. You know, there's been multiple times I've told somebody something for years, and then at some point they'll turn around and tell me like they just discovered it and I didn't even know about it. But it was just, that's the time they needed to discover that for themselves.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we've all experienced that, right?
Oh, yeah. And that's one of those times where you almost like, in those moments, I'll look up at them like, are they fucking with me? I've been telling them this. Yeah. Now they're telling me, but I can tell in that moment, they're like, dude, I just got this. Like, I just got a download. And in those moments, I just let them have it. Like, dude, that's awesome. Instead of me being like, unless it's hip, instead of me being like, dude, I've been fucking telling you that. If it's hip, I'll be like, dude, I've been fucking telling you that.
Right.
Well, it just happened like 2 weeks ago. I was riding in the car playing music, and I was like, Matt, have you ever heard of this band called TV on the Radio? And he was like, are you fucking serious? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, dude, I have had a playlist dedicated to them and have tried to get you to like them. And Joey, another artist at the shop, like threw them on, and I heard a song and I was like, ooh, I like that shit. It just hit different because, you know,
It was 2 years later. You're in a different spot.
a different spot, a different voice that sang it. You
Yeah.
know, I know, and like in recovery, a lot of times we got to say like we carry the same message because the message that I deliver to someone may not hit like the message that you deliver to someone. So it's like I would also say it complements to like have a team of like-minded individuals that are aligned with the same vision as you.
Yeah.
And let that grow and expand, because now they can impregnate the minds of people that maybe you didn't have the ability to do because just the way they said it.
I've even seen it happen with Hip. With me, when I met Hip, you know, there's things that we talked about. He has, you know, he's always full of questions, right? So he's asked me certain questions and I've given him answers. And then it was when he finally took my course, things really clicked with him, even though I've been telling him over and over and over. And he even said, I see you do it. And I know it works, but in his head, he was still questioning it until he actually applied it, and then it worked. You know?
Yeah, you know,
that.
this whole thing we're really talking about is really mastery, right? So, you know, everybody wants to be in a position of mastery. I think it's the highest level of fulfillment. When it comes to mastery and coaching or training, you know, as you get better in that, you start to understand what we're talking about, and that is there's something to say, but there's a way to say it with a certain emotion and tone and emphasis, and then there's a time to say it. And true mastery and coaching is those aren't things I did early on as a coach. You know, with Matt, it was just like I didn't give a shit what time of the day it was. This is the message. This is what you need to do. And fortunately, you know, he didn't resent me or tell me to go fuck off, you know, or anything. But in most cases, I'm trying to optimize my time and my investment in people. That was not the way to do it. But I was an early coach then. I was just learning the ropes, you know, how to get the optimal outcomes in people and also not hinder their progression as a coach, you know, because you get the wrong coach. I mean, not every coach is going to give you the right tools.
You know, I want to go back to something you were saying before we had the technical difficulty, and you were kind of explaining how you guys were going to be like these amazing angelic or evangelic leaders in the church community. And you said something along the lines of like you were being led into delusion or something like that. And I was just curious, like, as what your take on like what that means, because to me, to hear someone say that, it's like, I don't know, they found a more truer path of self, better connection to a higher power than like the dogmatic ways that a lot of times misinformed people continue to inform misinformed people. So yeah, I was just curious about that. Like, what would you say you're free now?
As I started to really mull over and ponder and think about and read the Bible outside of what I was being taught in this specific belief system, I was seeing things differently, right? And I'm the type of guy where it's like, look, I'm going to give this X amount of time to work, and I'm going to look at it objectively, set all my feelings and investment aside, and if I'm seeing that this is not getting me return on investment, I'm out, dude. I don't care if I have to leave everything and everybody and move to California and give up my dreams of being a big mega preacher. I'm out. Because
that's exactly what he did.
If it's not working within that time frame, it's not scalable. It's not sustainable. It's not going to work. I'm going to end up like people still in that church that had the opportunity to leave and see what I saw. They're still there today. Stuck. It's mind-boggling. So a handful of us actually were kind of seeing the same things at the same time. Fortunately, universe or God kind of started to enlighten us to these same scriptures. And, you know, the nutshell was this very authoritarian type of structure. You know, one guy at the top, collecting a lot of money, living a lavish lifestyle. Everything was about tithes and offerings and gathering monies, and which is pretty much most of the corrupt church today. It really doesn't matter what denomination it is. Their goal is to do like corporate America, beat the earnings, higher attendance, build buildings, and that's how they measure success. That's not how Christ measured success. I got 12 guys, I'm successful, right?
Yeah.
So I ended up getting kind of questioning the pastor and started asking him questions, thinking because of our relationship that he would be open to explaining those scriptures to me or explaining why they're doing things the way they are. That didn't happen. The guy flipped on me 180. 5 years of investment basically just up and gone in a day. The guy turned on me.
So they were just wanting a yes man.
Yeah. So he turns on me, and I probably was responsible for bringing 65 college students to Christ and bringing them to that church to participate in the giving, that they wanted every week.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was on campus doing like Billy Graham's, type stuff. And so they knew the impact I had on all these people, and they knew how many people that actually were kind of like following me rather than the guy at the top. There was a lot of jealousy there. So they basically just turned on me, said, "Hey, you're not allowed back in the church. You're in heresy. You've opened yourself to demonic spirits." They literally just. It was crazy, and then they called all the people that I recruited for the church and told them not to hang out with me. All these things were indicators of, I was right. These guys aren't really full of love, and they're not about us trying to advance in scriptural truths. It's more about we're in power, do as we say, give us the money, on and on and on. So I saw that not just there. I traveled the world. I was in these mega churches you see on Christian broadcasting. I was behind the scenes seeing the lifestyles of some of these people. The hypocrisy, man, of being in the pulpit and saying all these things that I'm actually doing. Like I'm living, right? Like I'm not masturbating or anything. Like I'm like, and I'm like as straight edge as there could be, man. Like Matt knows, straight edge. Like I'm doing the Bible.
Yeah.
That's what I figured I had to do, right? And then these guys are getting caught up in all kind of lifestyles, cheating on their wives, and drugs and all these different things. And so they're living a dual lifestyle. I'm seeing it, and it completely wrecked my whole image of this thing, and it made me very delusional. I lost everything. This is what I was going to be in life, right? You make a lot of money. If you're a preacher, you make a lot of money. These guys get paid $50,000 to speak.
Wow.
Easy. And they go around to each other's churches and they get $50,000, and they live a life of luxury, most of them, right? So that's when I just said, okay, I'm going to California. I was a personal trainer and fitness model, and I said, well, Toledo, Ohio probably isn't the best market for this. And I sold everything. I'd been to San Diego in the past, rolled out to San Diego. Now, here's an interesting thing that I think is very useful for everybody listening. When I went out to San Diego, I found myself gravitating toward a similar church. And I thought to myself, is this me or was it the pastor? What is attracting me to that style of church? And it was this, raised in an authoritarian household. My dad was an authoritarian, right? Just listen, do what I'm told, right? Never question anything. I was just going from my environment into an environment that was familiar to me. It wasn't healthy for me. It was familiar to me, right? So I'm sitting there thinking to myself, it came to me one day, I was in California on the beach. What is it in me that's attracting me to that? That is just going to be a repeat and a loss of 3 to 5 more years of my life. That's a pattern recognition. I recognize a pattern. I didn't place the blame on that pastor.
Come on.
I said, what is it in me that I need to change so I'm not attracted to another codependent relationship, whether it be a female or a group of friends or a church? or anything, right?
Yeah.
That's where I had the breakthrough.
Yeah.
Because I probably would have, most people that do what I do, they go back into a church. They can't get away from it. It's an addiction. Praise and worship's an addiction. Same hit as doing cocaine, man. It's the same addiction.
Thank you. Thank you. I was just getting ready to point out the similarities, and I appreciate that because it's a pattern, and it's stuck, like being in recovery. Like there's a thing we talk about, there's no external solution for an internal problem. And so just because you pack up and fucking move across country, geographical location doesn't mean shit. Now you got the same building, different color, the same people with different names.
That's why I always say you could move all the way across country just to get away, only to find out once you arrive that you are still there.
Man.
Yeah, I mean,
And I appreciate it because we were already talking earlier on about not being a victim. You choose. Eventually, once the pain gets great enough, you choose to have to look inward and be like, because it ain't the pastor's fault. You continued to volunteer and put yourself in that position.
That's how he kept his power, because so many people give all their power away by placing blame, And we know that the quality of life comes down to the quality of questions you live into. And Phil was on the beach asking a new question. Instead of like, what about them? This church, this pastor, are they any good? He started changing up his questions, and he was asking himself about himself, no matter what's going on out here.
Yeah, I mean, that comes because of this. Number one, how long do you want to tell your story, man? How long do you want to keep telling that story?
Come on, boy.
I mean, how much sympathy do you need? Right? It's what was it in me attracting me to this? What is it in me that keeps me doing this behavior? Like, that's true masculinity, is owning your shit, right?
Yeah.
And saying to yourself, I'm willing to be humble and do what it takes to make those changes. And the pattern was my environment there because my environment here. Then most people, their environment in their workplace, it goes into their workplace. They get some sort of authoritarian boss that they're afraid of because if they don't get paid, they're not going to be able to pay the bills. So now they live in that prison. So now it's the family structure, the church worship structure, and now the work environment structure. And so you have to recognize that pattern.
Yeah.
And all the connecting dots within that pattern to break the pattern.
Come on, brother. And real quick, just disclaimer in case we just lost or offended some of our listeners, whether we want to call that true masculinity or just taking 1,000% responsibility. Even right now, shout out to all you women out there that fucking decide to let go of your stories, your limiting belief, and take 1,000% responsibility. And for any female listening, it's like, wait a minute, I take 1,000% responsibility. Do I have to call that masculine? No.
Well, there is, Matt. Just let you know. So
yeah.
Masculine and feminine is not just our biological body parts.
That's
okay?
right.
So,
yes.
So masculine and feminine are core just traits, and they're also energies, and they're also hormones.
Yeah.
Okay. We know that because of what people are doing now with their bodies to change to be more of one or the other. So a female that says she's a female, whatever, that's a biological female, that's feminine. She can tap into masculine energy for these things, right? So, you're right. It could be owning up to it and not making excuses or getting overly emotional about it, which is the feminine in a lot of ways. She can say, hey, I can use the masculine for this situation. So I just want to clarify that because there's a lot of debate and a lot of just, that's the thing right now around this whole.
You know what's funny? You bring this up because I'm in an all men's mastermind, and they're all real successful entrepreneurs, and they've talked a lot about masculine, feminine energy, and most of them are trying to learn how to tap into their feminine energy for business, knowing that all masculine isn't the way to run business. It's got its place, but it needs to be balanced with the feminine. The funny part about that, Phil, is they bring me in to help teach them the feminine.
Well, it's a duality. You need
Yeah.
both.
Yeah.
They both play roles.
Yeah.
And
So
I would almost.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Just so I don't lose what you had asked me originally.
Yeah, go for it.
Where I've evolved to now, it wasn't an instantaneous like coming out of, because it's a lot of mindset, it's a lot of belief structure, right? It's a lot of like, I had to change everything I believed. I had to question everything now. Once you're wrong in those dogmatic structures, you realize you're wrong in some key beliefs.
Yeah.
And you got to be like, okay, man, here we go. Let's just open the whole thing up, man. We got to go through it all. Like, if I was wrong there, I got to just open the whole thing up, because I'm not going to keep being wrong for 5 years on this other stuff.
Come on, boy.
If we're going to blow this thing up, man, let's go full. Let's just nuke it all.
Yeah.
And when I came out here, a lot of people reverted to a home church movement where they would gather in homes, like the New Testament.
Yeah.
And they would have little communities in home church where people would break bread, pray for one another, and it seemed that there was a lot more Christianity in that environment. For instance, in the church, the way that they administer things is in these church corporate structures in America. Give us a bunch of money and we'll help the people on your behalf. Then people never get help for the most part. That's the reality. Okay. Now in a setting where you got 10 people or 10 families, a house church, right? When somebody right there says, I have these needs, you don't pray for that person, man. You don't give money to the pastor. You pull out your money right there and help the person. Like, you
Come on.
Come on. So I got into that structure, which I feel was more New Testament, more personal. I felt like more maturity for people, more accountability for people. When Matt's across the table from me, we're breaking bread, and he's breaking down saying, hey, I can't pay my bills. I don't just be like, hey, can you pass the steak and potatoes? Like, shit, man, I got to help this dude.
Yeah.
So it eliminates the middleman and all the waste and everything in that regard. I evolved into more of a house church setting. Now I'm in the position where 2 or 3 are gathered. I believe like the whole world is my church. If I go to the grocery store or the gym or wherever I'm around, I can be used and channel God, spirit, universe, pure source, whatever, to help people where they're at, right?
Yes.
That's where I've evolved. I would say I'm probably agnostic at this point. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is fucking a lot for him to say that. Like,
well, it just shocks me to hear like your guys' stories of how you're like fucking how you used to go in the fucking prayer shed and shit. Yeah. Man, that just sounds awful.
Him and I used to walk the floors and pray for hours
that
together.
Sounds fucking awful.
It wasn't. It wasn't. It wasn't.
And it's cool because you look at that and you're like, oh, I needed to go through all this to be the person I am today. I always have to remind myself, we get new apprentices coming in like right in their 20s. And I'm like, God damn, I was like in a heroin coma on my way to prison. And you're in a fucking great shop learning an amazing art. I'm envious of that. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Momentarily I might be, but then I remember like, oh, I had to go. That was my path. I had to do that to be where I am today. And I'm grateful for that.
And thank you, because I believe even though some of the hell Phil and I have been through or the bondage, I'm so thankful that we've been through it, because how we can we can move in the world differently and relate to others. And, it's been a heart of mine to help set people free from the bondage of religion. What set me and Phil free? From the church, from going to like God himself. That's why I said like, when I got freed up, it was like God was freeing me up from man, not from love. You know what I'm saying? He shows up like, that's why now when I say my I am statement, I am the universe. I am love. And I'm continually being taught by love. And so even the people that once hurt me or offended me, now I see them through the lens of love. And I just honor them. That's where they're at in their journey. And I love them. I'm no longer hurt or offended by them. But that's because of the work that's taken place in me. And it, like Hip said, or like Phil said, it wasn't like just a switch.
It's a process.
Yeah, it's a process. It's taken years.
Well, mastery is lifelong.
Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, as dark as it might sound, I believe that I was supposed to have cancer. This is something that I'm supposed to go through. I'm also supposed to survive.
Yes.
This is something that I don't want to say that I'm glad it happened, but I've completely accepted it, and it's just part of my journey. But again, as much as I feel that, I do know that I'm meant to survive because there's something greater for me to give through this.
Well, and that's fucking amazing because it goes right back to like, don't discount the messenger. It can even be fucking cancer.
Yeah.
Jesus, man.
What's really weird is I actually have said the bulk of my life that I would have cancer. I said it when I was young. So
You did say that?
I did. I did.
What was the reasoning? Was it a premonition, or what was it? Something that was family?
I just felt it incredibly strong. No, it's not. Nobody in my family before really had it. It's just something I've always felt. When I met my wife over 20 years ago, I told her, I said that I think I'll have cancer someday, and she was like, "Why would you say that?" And it's just something I've always felt. So some of our listeners might even say, "Well, there you go, you brought it upon yourself." Like, who knows? You know what I mean? But it's just something I've always felt. But again, just as strong, stronger. Yeah. I know I'm meant to survive it. I know I'm meant. Even it's stage 4. Which is, technically incurable, but I just, Phil, you don't know this, but I was in a wheelchair about 3 months ago. And about a month ago, I walked 5 miles in Mexico.
Wow.
So, yes.
Keep fighting,
and
brother.
there's something to be said. Whenever Josh has, whether we call it a premonition, a gut feeling, just a knowing, and declares it, as long as I've known Josh, it comes to pass every time.
My track record is pretty dang good with that stuff. It's interesting.
Yeah.
So we've been celebrating his wholeness for over a year now. Because like Josh, we just know it too.
Yeah, if you go back and look at some older episodes, I look and sound like a completely different person.
Yeah. And Phil, that's why talk about victory versus victims. We have learned in real time on this show the past year with some of the hell we've gone through or the storms that have hit. Who do you become in the midst of the storm? And we have learned and have had to accept that life happens for you, not to you, and even through you, right? Yeah. Because we could ask, why the fuck is this happening to me and my wife? Why is this happening to Josh? But we've realized it's happened for us, even in a weird way, like what Josh said. Even if we can't fully see now, we believe even this is meant to work out to our benefit. It's going to be real interesting to see how this all plays out.
Yeah,
that's ultimately a mindset and a decision. I mean, let's just come to it. I mean, it's the decision that you make, right? You have this struggle in front of you. You have this loss in front of you, trial or tribulation, and you have a decision to make. Like, it's in your hands. Yeah. And that decision is, am I going to learn from this? Am I going to take steps to make it through this as successfully as possible, knowing it's for a season?
Yeah.
Everything is for a season. Yeah. Or am I going to cave? Right? I mean, that's the thing about coming out of religion is, like in Bruce Almighty, when he told him, everybody's always looking up, right? Everybody's always looking up to, God for all the answers. The kingdom of heaven is within. Like we're already empowered, right? Even heaven and hell, that's here and now based on your decisions in a lot of ways, right? The reaping is here. It's not on a street of gold somewhere, figuratively. So one of the things when I came out of it, religion it was always easy, and Matt knows this, with your struggles and everything, to go to church on a Wednesday or a Sunday and get your brain chemical hit like you do when you do cocaine or anything else. Same thing. They've done research on this. Same thing happens to the brain when you do praise and worship in church. We look forward to it because it was our addiction, right? It was our chain. So
Yeah.
all the chains, doesn't matter what they're made out of, they're all chains. You know, they still got your chain.
Damn.
At the end of the day, we would go there, and then, you know, the pastor would hype us up about all the things we're going through, and then nothing would ever change. It's like, well, I thought you said God's going to show up, change this deal. I'm going to be a millionaire. You know, my whole family's going to be healed in a day. Like, they preach this stuff. And I'm sitting there in the back row thinking, man, you know, I'm doing the math on this deal. Like, okay, 3 years, 67 sermons, outcome. No. You know, like, that shit didn't work. And Matt knows me, like, I'm outcome oriented, man. Like, and I hate wasting time. I hate wasting time. I'm the most efficient
There'd be
person.
times we go home from church and be so lit up, and Phil just be like, I think I'm gonna fucking drop my shoulder and just go through the wall. Like, and the difference is I'd be like spiritually trying to bilocate, and I'm gonna walk through the wall, like literally just walk through it. And Phil's like, I'll lower my fucking shoulder and bulldoze her through this. We're going through, you know.
So the thing about that is, I believe religion is almost more dangerous than any other drug. And I know I take a big risk at saying that on this podcast because there's a lot of religious addicts, and they find a lot of solace and a lot of help in these structures, but a lot of these structures aren't empowering them. It's enslaving them and using them, right? In codependent type of relationships with the pastor and the flock, right? And what I found in these structures is there's no real advancement or leveling up or really seeing true change, because a lot of people in this structure, including myself, it's an external locus of control. That means you're looking at all the externals to align and to help you, and you're going to pray and everything's going to be better. And when you get out of this structure, you see that the shift for me was, I'm in control. God is in me. The kingdom of heaven is within me. I can do anything. I can choose my thought. I can choose my decision. I can choose what time I set my alarm clock. I choose it all.
As if he's actually co-creating with God.
And that's the formula that works. Because God rewards, the universe rewards. Great book called Big Magic. I encourage you all to read it. And she talks about the universe and how when you position yourself, whether it's in any sort of creative endeavor, when you even set aside a disciplined time and give the universe an opportunity to flow and channel through you, the universe is looking for people like that. In our world, Matt, in terms of songwriting, there's groups, we've heard this over the years, that said they literally just sat down and wrote Stairway to Heaven in like 5 minutes. They understood how to channel. The universe wants to bless and prosper us, man. And we just don't put ourselves in a position and turn off the Netflix series and TikTok stupid little videos that aren't making us any wiser or any better. We're wasting our time, whereas the universe is just ready to channel through us to help people to create and do these things, right?
Man.
That was the shift out of a religious structure was, hey, man, I've got the goods. I got the toolbox. I've got everything I need. I don't need to go to Home Depot and pick anything else up. I've got it all. I'm empowered completely. Now, what am I going to do with it?
Man.
What decisions am I going to make? Am I going to be a victor? Or do I want to get some attention for being a victim? Am I going to surround myself around all yes people? Or am I going to get some no people in my life that say, you know what? You're great, Phil, all that, but these are the things that you need to correct.
And I think that's why we were brought together, you know, to be those mirrors for one another, because our ways of being, we automatically weren't yes people for each other just by our presence, you know.
I mean, it's funny, in the UFC world, there was a bunch of guys that I was around, and I mean, everybody kowtows to those people, you know. I mean, whether it's women or guys or fans or whatever, it's always telling them how great they are and all this stuff. And I was like the only guy in that group that I would just tell those guys the truth, you know. And they loved it, man, because I don't have any ties to that world. Like, I don't give a shit. I'm not making any money off this. I'm not trying to be some coach to the Professional Athlete Association. And they love that, man. Just go talk to Ballante. He's going to tell you the real things you need to hear to get where you need to be at.
Come on. Yeah. Oh, I love that. You know, like you were saying, the universe is like so ready available. And a scripture I share all the time, one of my favorites, is God's eyes are constantly looking to and fro the earth, just looking for a what vessel?
Willing.
A willing vessel to drop all his glory in. It doesn't say he's looking for people up on their tithes, good little boys and girls, or what prayer you pray. He's just looking for a willing heart. Whoever will be like, I'm your huckleberry. I'll do it. You need to be, I'll do it. You want me to go bless this woman? I'm willing, you know. And that's the fun. That's when the world becomes our playground that we ain't got to, but we get to, you know. And that's where it becomes fun to be open. Because a lot of times the gifts that we've been given aren't just for you. They're for others, you know? And it's so fun to live into the question of who do I get to fucking bless today or touch today, you know? And we already know givers get. We don't give to get. It just comes with the territory. That's why the more times I get to give to someone else, my God, I'm so blessed for it. Even getting to be the vessel is the blessing. Phil, even though we've talked today a lot, and for any of you listeners, especially tattoo artists, that some of our story today you can relate to, you know, either being hurt by religion, burnt or turned off, you know, Phil, I've said it for years. Phil knows this. The biggest reason why people don't go to church today is because they've been to one, you know, and somehow got hurt, turned, or burned off. But don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Do not allow your experiences with people, that church, that pastor, that guy who turned on you, to rob you of your own journey of truth. Right? Because so many people be like, man, if this is what God's all about, well, fuck God, I don't want nothing to do with it. Well, it's not. It's just what these people in this organization was about. You can say, fuck them, this place, these people, but don't fuck yourself by closing yourself off to the real riches of life, of God showing up in your life, all source, the divine, the universe, opening you up and enlightening you and helping you see that which you couldn't see before for your growth, for your freedom, to be a partaker. As Hip always says, there's no ceilings here. We don't even know the end of the universe. It's still going. We live in a world of such abundance, and it's all on the inside of you. And so do not allow, and even if you can relate to all the suck stories of, man, this sucks, this organization sucks, for you to rob yourself of your own journey and the messages you are still meant to receive, right? Can we encourage them, Phil, in their journey today, in any way, shape, or form? You know, since I am such a dude of empathy, I always like to leave people encouraged and with a sense of it's all going to be all right, because it already is.
You know, a great analogy to this is somebody gets a bad tattoo, right? It's maybe a tattoo they weren't happy with. They went to another tattoo shop, and they weren't happy with the outcome. It really didn't represent what they were looking to have, and they got disappointed. And they spent a lot of money, right? I know.
I mean, I hear that happens. We can't relate, but go ahead. Just kidding.
No, those people come to you to have a better experience. So it's the same analogy. You know, if you enjoy tattoos, or you've got a tattoo, but it doesn't really represent what you wanted it to, or the hopes that you would have it to, then you could go to maybe your place, right? And you could say, hey, Matt, you know, I really wasn't happy with this experience, right? I wasn't happy with this tattoo, and can you help me with it? Can you further develop it? Can you help me with to create what I was really looking for all along, right? And so you don't just stop it, just say, well, hell with it, I'm gonna have this tattoo that I don't really like. You know, it's the same with church. Okay, I didn't like that structure. I didn't feel like it was optimal for me. And I feel like there's better ways to build a tribe and build a community, right? To better help people according to the New Testament structure, right? Yeah. I'm not out there, you know, like serving the devil and doing animal sacrifices and all these different types of things. Like, I still believe in love and God. I still read the scripture, but I'm a lot more open, and I'm open to different ways of serving, communicating with God and people that maybe wasn't how I was raised or what I had gone through, right? So it's kind of a great analogy in terms of your guys' world of, you know, you just keep incrementally moving forward. You find a better way. You maybe have a good way, then you find a better way, right?
Yeah.
And love yourself. Hey, love yourself through the process, man. Forgive yourself and love yourself. I mean, I know how much I beat myself up, Matt. You know, I mean, I'm very hard on myself. I feel like I should have made those mistakes. I was stupid. I didn't see it. You know, look, you know, you got to love yourself and forgive yourself. You're not perfect. And celebrate the fact that you're getting out and doing the transition to begin with. I mean, most people
brother.
Get out of it.
Whether That's right, because you're not hiding. Yep, and I love that. Number one, he chose to face himself instead of hiding. You know, I know a guy always says, it only hurts when I'm hiding, you know, and I love that. And this is, speaking of analogies, and I think I shared this before, Phil, have you ever heard the analogy, the difference between cows and buffalo?
No.
Yeah, so cow, you know, and all animals can sense when a storm's coming. So let's say there's cows out here in a pasture, and when a storm's coming, the cows sense the storm and they run away from it. Well, the storm catches up to them and is over top of them, and the cows are still running, and now they're running with the storm. So they're in the storm unnecessarily way longer because they're trying to they're hiding, running from it, and the storm's following them. Now, buffalo, when a storm's coming, they sense the storm, and buffalo immediately turn into it and run straight into the storm. So now when the storm's approaching them, but they're running through it, and they get through it so much quicker, and now they're enjoying all the things that the storm brought them, while the cows are just like stuck under the storm forever, you know? And that analogy, you know, I feel like you made that distinction today when most of the world does what the cows do, and it does not serve them, and they end up suffering way longer than what they ever needed to, versus the people that decide to be like, hey, I'm going to take 1,000% responsibility, and I'm going to face myself and run straight to it, my freedom, you know? And even though it may seem to be in the short term more discomfort or scarier, man, the payoff to not hide and for us to ask the real questions and to face ourselves and give ourselves the room along the way leads to our freedom the quickest, I believe. You know?
Yeah, I mean, look, you know, transition is a whole discussion in and of itself, and the art of transition, the art of making the right decision. Like I do deep dives with people on the stuff that are looking to make huge transitions in life. Yeah. And I think the thing to take away here is, look, I don't think anybody really gets anywhere in life of significance unless they have a coach that's willing to be honest, transparent with them, and hold them accountable. I don't see it. Like I'm around all these athletes, man. They got a coach for psychological, mental preparation to keep their self-confidence high. Because if you don't have that, nothing matters. If you don't have self-confidence that you can even run through that storm like that buffalo, it doesn't matter. Nothing matters. Self-confidence is everything in life. Yeah. And then they'll have a coach for, you know, maybe jiu-jitsu or wrestling, and a coach for, you know, so I think helping people get through transitions, you really need a coach empathetical, but also is going to tell you the truth, right?
Yeah.
I think that's very important in order to make real change and progress.
Dude. Well, we couldn't fucking agree more, could we, fellas? And I love that you bring that up, Phil, because us three here are coaches in our industry. Josh, the legend that he is, has his own coaching program called Everything I Know, where he takes a select group of guys almost quarterly and imparts into them. And, you know, Hip and I have a coaching program. We've got 3 actually called Tattoo Business Mastery. They're all journeys. The shortest one's 3 months. Then there's a 6 months and a 12 month. But what I'm bringing up is because you were bringing up coaching, but they're with athletes. And I think that's a misconception in the world. And that's what we even teach our students, that all greats in any niche have coaches. And even though I'm a coach, I have coaches. And Phil, my coaches have coaches. Tony Robbins has a coach. The greatest athletes all have coaches, but same with the best singer-songwriters, the best actors in the world, the best writers, the best of the best. One common through line of them all is that they're all coachable. therefore they all have coaches. For some reason, that's been a little stigma in our industry, and us being some of the pioneers of even providing coaching to the tattoo industry. And there, it's come with its own backlash of people like the audacity. Who the fuck are you, got all that? But those who have trusted us and trust the process, transition and transformation happens every week, all the time. Lives are being changed right and left, and that alone is what keeps us in the game. And that is the greatest reward, is literally getting to see someone else's life change, their whole perception shift, their self-confidence, all of that. And it's a journey, and it does take coaching. So thank you for validating that today.
Yeah. That
it
and
matters.
Just what other, there's something that's been on my mind so much lately, and I asked myself, why have I been able to make really good decisions for most of my life? And I really have. I have really, when I compare myself to most people, man, and these were things that were prophesied over me when I was young, having the wisdom to make the right decisions and things like that. But I think the thing that's most overlooked and the most hidden gem in our lives is our own intuition.
Come on, brother.
How many pitfalls and hardships and wrong relationships and wrong business partners and wrong businesses that you could avoid if you learn to be still and listen to your intuition, man. It's mind-boggling when I think about decision making and how fast people make decisions, especially with very large potential ramifications. Whether it's financial or jumping into a relationship or whatever.
Yeah.
People need to learn to be still, be in nature, be grounded, and allow that intuition and that knower to give you direction before the coach. Learn, because if you have nobody, no coach, can't afford it, God's not answering, he's out to lunch, Santa Claus is around, whatever. And you have nobody but yourself. You need to learn how to develop your own intuition and know how to get a sense and feel for things in your life, whether it's now choosing a coach, right? Okay, well, what coach should I choose? You know what? There's something. I feel like that's the right guy. My girlfriend and I operate like this. It's crazy the level of attraction of people that come into our life. It's crazy. It's magical.
Yes.
It really, if we interview 4 or 5 people for something, we know right away. 10 seconds. We already know the energy, the smile, the personality. We already know. The intuition is like one of the most valuable. You can't even put a worth on it.
Come on, brother.
So that intuition is the bedrock for you to make better decisions in every facet of your life, including who do I align with? What's the feeling I get when I'm around this person? I don't give a shit what they're saying or how good of a pitch man they are or how good and flowery they can talk and put their words together or all their cars and Ferraris. I don't give a shit about that. How do I feel? What is my gut telling me when I'm around this person?
Come on. Yes, bedrock. Brother.
And the only way you're going, nobody teaches this at school. Like there's no classes on how to develop your intuition or how to have a better intuition or how to be more in touch with your knower. There are no classes like this on purpose. They want you to be dependent and make stupid decisions. So that intuition is something people need to cultivate, and just like anything else, you practice it. Okay, I linked with this person, it worked out. I thought my intuition said this, didn't work out. Okay, you keep developing. That is a tool that you keep developing. Keep you from making a lot of terrible decisions in life, man.
Oh, it's awesome. Brother Phil, I love you so much. And in front of everyone here, dude, I just want to thank you for the impact you've had on my life then and now and all the way through. Thank you for being a constant fucking brother in my life, no matter what you're going through, what I'm going through, what the world's throwing at us, that you've always been true blue and a solid brother in my life. And even if we go years without talking, you're always there for me, as I am for you. And I just fucking love you. And thank you for being on the show today and serving us from your table and just entering in good conversation with us today. And I hope it has been a blessing to all you listeners. And like normal, please let us know in the comments your main takeaways from today's discussion. If anything Phil or any of us said that really resonated with you, was there a moment that helped you get freed up? Had you been carrying an attachment or a meaning that someone else in the church said about you that today in this conversation you were able to just fucking let go of it? Whatever the case may be, we would love to hear your feedback. And Phil, thank you for joining us today, brother.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Man. Such a golden brother. My God. Josh Hip, any last words you guys want to say?
No, dude, I appreciate you sitting in and serving from your table. And it's good to put a face to the stories that I've heard in the past. So thank you, man.
I do have to ask, are those some early matte paintings in the background?
No, that is, I am going to dig up the picture. Matt actually just decided to paint our entire wall in our apartment with a mural, which is pretty badass. And I've got that picture somewhere. I just couldn't dig it up, but
Very cool.
I'll get it to Matt so he can show it to you guys. But Matt just started like drawing on the walls and doing murals and stuff, and we were cool with it. You know?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
The landlord wasn't cool with it. But
Right.
This here's a gentleman that. So that's Zach De La Roca, Rage Against the Machine,
Nice.
That's awesome.
and then that's
Jimi Hendrix.
Jimi Hendrix, Bob Marley, and then this is the 4 frontmen from the '90s grunge era.
Nice.
Yeah,
Cool.
when they were really young.
Right.
Right.
This gentleman is a friend of mine, David Garibaldi in Sacramento, and he does this performance painting where he does all this stuff like
Oh, yeah.
literally no time flat.
That's
So
really cool.
He was a good friend of mine. I did some business coaching for him, and in exchange, he made a bunch of pieces of art for me. So
Very cool.
It's awesome.
yeah,
My God, brother. Phil, I love you, man. Thank you
too.
for being with us today. All
Anytime.
you tattoo guardians around the world, my God, trust your intuition and know that you already have the knowing inside of you. And to trust that and that you're not alone. Who are you going to audit out of your life? Who are you going to evaluate in your relationships? And are you going to face yourself instead of letting another year go by, carrying the same stories that you've been carrying the past years? And do you realize today what stories you're carrying that don't serve you, that you can just let go on and take on a new story that's actually going to serve you? And be like the buffalo and face your storms. With us, you are not alone. Thank you, Tattoo Guardians all over the world. We love you. We speak blessings upon you. And we'll see you next week.
Man, what time is it? 12:14 a.m. Matt, I don't know about you, but I like coffee.
You know I do every day, all day.
Man, and I could go for one right now. So our listeners, did you know that you can buy us a coffee?
For real?
Yeah. All
Why
they
would
gotta
they do that?
Well, if you like what we do and you support our show and you appreciate our content, you can just go and click that little button that our producer Mike puts in every show and buy us a coffee just to show your contribution that you appreciate what we do for you to help us out.
People can really buy us a coffee.
Totally.
I would be honored if you bought me a coffee.
And not only that, but we got a little spot. It's special for the VIP listeners. It's called Close Friends on Instagram. And on there, you can see some behind the scenes content. And when the cameras ain't running, seeing all the shit we'd be talking about each other.
Is that true, Mike? Damn, you guys, this is the first I've heard about either of these. So they can buy you or me a coffee.
Or Mr. Carlton.
Or Mr. Carlton. And, like, get a sneak peek behind the scenes.
Yeah.
By doing what again?
Fucking smashing that button.
Okay. What button you talking about? I want to smash the button.
It's the button on the fucking thing.
Do it. Just do it.
Absolutely demolish the button. But thanks for your time again, and we appreciate all our listeners.
Always.